Hey everyone, and welcome back to Learn English Fluently Academy. Today, I want you to imagine this. You're not just learning English, you're painting with words. That's what metaphors and similes do. They add color, emotion, and depth to your conversations. They help you sound more natural, more expressive, and even a little poetic. And whether you're chatting with a friend, writing a story, or just trying to explain how you feel, using the right metaphor or simile can completely transform your message. So in today's lesson, we're going to dive deep into the world of metaphors and similes. We'll start by understanding what they are, look at some beautiful and funny examples, and then I'll guide you through how you can start using them in everyday English. Even as a beginner, we'll break it down step by step, just like we always do. So ready? Let's get into it. Part 1. What's the difference between a metaphor and a simile? Let's start simple. A simile compares two things using the words like or as. Think of it as a soft comparison. You're saying something is similar to something else. A metaphor, on the other hand, is a stronger statement. It says something is something else even when it's not literally true. You're not just comparing, you're transforming one thing into another in your words. Here's an example of a simile. She's as busy as a bee. An example of a metaphor, she's a machine when she works. Did you hear the difference? One says she's like a bee, the other says she is a machine. The metaphor is bolder, more dramatic. It brings your English to life. Now let's go a bit deeper. Why do we use them? We use metaphors and similes to explain things more clearly or more emotionally. For example, if someone says he's very fast, that's fine. But if they say he runs like the wind, suddenly you see the speed. You feel it, it becomes more vivid. These expressions help us talk about feelings, ideas, and people in more creative ways. They show personality, they connect to imagination, and they make you sound more natural in conversation. Part 3. Common similes you'll hear all the time. Now let's walk through some everyday similes you might hear. As I go through these, try to picture the image in your mind. That's the key. As cold as ice. Her hands were as cold as ice. Imagine someone who's really freezing. As light as a feather. This bag is as light as a feather. That means it's super light. As strong as an ox. My grandfather is as strong as an ox, which means strong and very powerful. And our last example, as blind as a bat. Without my glasses, I'm as blind as a bat, which is a fun visual way to say you can't see well. You can start creating your own similes too. Just pick something you want to describe and compare it to something with a similar quality using like or as. Part 4. Exploring metaphors. Now let's switch to metaphors. These don't use like or as. They go straight to the point. For example, time is money. We know time isn't really money, but it means time is valuable. He's a night owl. Not a real owl, of course. It just means he stays up late. Her voice is music to my ears. You're not saying her voice is actually music, but it's so pleasant. It feels that way. You see how metaphors go further? They're not soft comparisons. They change the meaning in a creative way. They make you pause and think. Part 5. Funny, creative, and useful ones for daily life. Let's look at some similes and metaphors that native speakers often use when joking or being more expressive. He's got a heart of stone, an unemotional person. Another example, she's got a heart of gold. This is also a metaphor, which means she's a kind and caring person. I'm drowning in homework. This is also a metaphor, which means overwhelmed by work. Now you tell me, what do you think this is? Like a deer in headlights. This is a simile, which means fear or surprise. As slow as a snail. Also a simile, and that means very slow. You'll notice that native speakers love using these, especially in storytelling, casual conversations, or when they want to sound dramatic or funny. Part 6, how to use them in your own sentences. Okay, let's make this practical. You don't have to memorize every metaphor or simile. You just need to understand the idea behind them and slowly start adding them to your vocabulary. First, think of what you want to describe. Then ask yourself, what is it like? What does it feel like? Or is there something similar you can use as a comparison? For example, if you want to talk about a messy room, try this. This place looks like a tornado hit it. And if you want to talk about someone who never speaks, you can say, he's as quiet as a mouse. Or want to talk about how hard you're working, you say, I've been burning the midnight oil. Start small. Maybe try using one simile or metaphor when talking with anyone. The more you play with them, the more natural they'll feel. Part 7, what not to do. Let's pause here and talk about some common mistakes English learners make with metaphors and similes. Using metaphors too literally. For example, I'm drowning in work. Doesn't mean you're actually drowning. It's just a figure of speech. Forgetting the grammar. For similes, use as or like correctly. It's she is as light as a feather. Or she is light like a feather. Keep your sentences simple and clear when you first start using them. Now let's have a little fun. I'll say the beginning of a sentence. Can you guess the ending? He's as busy as a bee. Let's move on to the next one. Her smile is like sunshine. This suitcase is as heavy as a rock. Now I want you to tell me, is this sentence a metaphor or a simile? I'm feeling blue. This is a metaphor. It means I'm sad. And there we go. You just explored one of the most creative corners of the English language. Metaphors and similes don't just teach you grammar or vocabulary. They help you express yourself more like a native speaker. The more you read and listen to native English, songs, books, movies, you'll start to notice these all the time. So next time you hear someone say, my job is a roller coaster, don't panic. They're not really at an amusement park. They just mean it's full of ups and downs. So keep practicing. Try adding 1 or 2 metaphors or similes to your own conversations this week. And most importantly, have fun with it. Learning English isn't just about rules. It's about expression